Today, I want to talk about my 9 to 5 job, which doesn't really get talked about because, well, it's completely underappreciated and undervalued in this culture, and it's a damn fucking shame. I've had this job for 3 years now, and let me tell you, it's changed my life. But you know what's crazier? Everyone has this job. This 9 to 5 is sleep. And respecting my sleep really started a positive cycle that changed my life. I started sleeping from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. during my first year of university, and I think it has probably shifted the trajectory of my life to a degree greater than I will ever actually consciously realize. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not preaching you sleep 9 to 5. That's not the point, right? My point is that you develop the capacity to respect yourself a little bit more and treat yourself a little bit better. And that can start with something as fundamental as sleep, which is so overlooked, but has effects that you don't even know will affect you because it's like an unconscious sleep. But this giving this to yourself will make you so much more I don't even know how to put it. It will make you so much more awake in the day, but not awake in the sense that you are literally more awake. That well it includes that, but what I mean more so is that you're more you're more spiritually awake, you're more energetically awake, you're more awake and more aware in terms of in terms of questioning things and being proactive about things that you would otherwise sort of sweep under the rug or wouldn't or would feel like you don't have the energy to deal with because you put up with not giving yourself enough rest and recovery because you treat yourself like shit. Um, but anyways, long story short, for me, how I started sleeping so early was essentially throughout high school. I would hang out with idiots, right? We'd do idiot teenage boy things, and then I'd stay up till like 4 a.m. That type of stuff, right? Not doing anything, nothing good happens after 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. However you want to say it. I also there were a lot of like parties, whatever, a lot of alcohol, that type of stuff, right? And then I'd noticed that every single time I did one of those things, although in the moment, yeah, sure, it was pleasurable. Like every single morning after, I just feel like complete shit about myself. Like no matter how hard I try to rationalize to myself, oh yeah, you're young, like fucking it's nothing. Live in the moment, bro. Like you're young, bro. Worry about it when you're 25 or when you're 30. Live your life. You're still young. But no matter how much I tried to convince myself of that, using that type of excuse, like it it never failed to make me feel like shit each and every time I disrespected my sleep and frankly myself. Um, but when I went into university, I was living in a dorm. I was pretty. I'm pretty introverted as a person, and so I never really liked most of the things you're supposed to like, um, in terms of social things. So I didn't enjoy those greasy ass frat parties, and I didn't try to like hang out with big groups of people or people I didn't even like at all. I'd rather just be alone. And so I spent a lot of time alone, I guess. Um, and during that time alone, a lot of reflection. I had time for a lot of reflection. Um, Whereas most people will sort of, especially when you're a young kid, um, everyone around me was just unquestioningly doing stuff just because everyone else does it. Um, but in doing so, they waste an absurd amount of time, which leads to, right, momentary feelings of pleasure, but nothing worthwhile and fulfilling to show for it. And they'll say, "Oh, it's fun. Oh, I'm young. Live in the moment." But like to me, that's always been like, it's just felt like an excuse hiding the real reason for why you do these things. And I think a lot of young people aren't even conscious of the fact that they have no idea why they do it. Like, for example, partying every night, or say even an older person who's well into their career, who watches TV till bedtime every night, right? Um, because what's the alternative to doing those things? Most people would rather not be alone, would rather not truly be alone with themselves because they can't stand it. Like when I think about an average teenager or young adult nowadays, I just think that they just pull out their phones and numb themselves with endless garbage on social media any chance they get. Um, like our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. Um, and like I can't even imagine being a kid growing up now, like being exposed to social media like at such a young age, and then you feel like you have to like, yeah, it's a mess. Anyways, my choice to stay away from a lot of these like I consider useless social gatherings led me spending a lot of days and nights isolated from the world, pretty much in my dorm. Um, and it also isolated me from a lot of like this shallow social interaction, which I was never really into. Um, and yeah, sure, it was pretty painful. Being alone with myself, right? Being alone with yourself is the scariest thing ever, right? But that's exactly what I needed. Um, I needed to face myself instead of avoiding myself. To put everything aside and just listen to what my body and my mind was trying to tell me rather than numb it all away, distracting myself doing something else. There were a lot of things I couldn't stand about myself, and I faced those things during a lot of those nights alone, because I wasn't busy distracting myself in the hopes of numbing it all away. Um, One of the things that a lot of this reflection and whatever not feeling good enough about myself led to was lifting, was starting my lifting journey, which all started out of insecurity. Um, I would say most people start lifting out of complete insecurity, but it became like an obsessive drug that I needed a fix of. So just the sole act of waking up at 5 a.m. in order to hit a 6 a.m. training session every day, that made me feel extraordinary. It made me feel fucking insane. So I kept doing it because it made me feel so good. Um, I kept doing it instead of drinking and partying being my fix. It was lifting. And so I woke up every single day looking forward to lifting, and I haven't stopped since. And so just like that, I unintentionally managed to stack what you might consider two prestigious habits together. Um, and for me, lifting and sleeping was the portal to begin bridging a grim reality with um, an ecstatic dream that I always have of being that person I wanted to be. And to start realizing that these two things aren't separate. So I'm not telling you to sleep 9 to 5. I'm asking you whether you are currently satisfied with the way you're choosing to live. Because ultimately, you're choosing the way that you live. You can make all the excuses and blame outer circumstances for the happenings of your life, of your everyday life, but ultimately, It's you that chooses how you're living. And I want you to imagine choosing a life which made you genuinely want to get up in the morning, which then made you genuinely want to get a good rest every night, because you genuinely want to get up the next morning. So it's nothing but a self-fulfilling feedback loop that just feeds on itself. If you live poorly, then you feel poor. If you live healthy, then you feel healthy, right? It's like why am I even saying this? It's so obvious. But, sometimes the most hidden things are what is in plain sight. And so what kind of cycle are you currently on? I would say that the first and the only step is to face who you really are and ask yourself what it is that you really want and what you would need to give up, because you're holding on to stuff that you need to give up, but are unwilling to. And the reason people never find their salvation is because they never face their despair, not realizing that in this very despair is your very salvation. And all it takes to find your own way is just that one thing. It could be weightlifting, it could be drawing, making art, it could be making music, it could be writing, it could be writing poetry. Whatever floats your boat, man. It could be martial arts, it could be, I don't know. It could be carpentry. Right? That one thing in your heart. That one thing that for some inexplicable reason makes you feel extraordinary. Follow it. Follow that little voice in your head that's like whispering to you the truth deep within that you've tried to suppress and repress because it seems psychotic or insane if you were to tell it to other people. Follow it, and it will lead you to 2, and 2 will lead you to 3. But in following the path of your heart, you have to give up any predetermination of what comes next. Because your whole life you've been told to follow a sequence of predetermined steps. And that's the cookie cutter factory model that we've all been brought up to follow. And so the moment you drop all of these predeterminations of your next step, you give your true self the permission to express itself through you and as you. And what's more beautiful than that? And you'll also have to give up trying to justify your behavior to other people, because people will think you've lost your mind, you've become crazy, like, what are you doing? A lot of people won't understand, because they themselves are mentally trapped in that sequence of predetermined steps and expectations, whereas you are freeing yourself from these shackles. Some of your friends, and it will feel like some of your friends and family are trying to convince you to quote unquote come back, because you'll start reflecting back onto them the things that they are too afraid to give up themselves. People complain about not having enough time to do what they really want, not having enough money to do what they really want. They feel like they aren't happy enough in their current state. And so what does everyone immediately go to doing? Sacrificing anything they can out of the myriad of supposed trivialities throughout their day. Sacrificing sleep, sacrificing what they eat in a given day, sacrificing physical activity and exercise, quality time with family and friends, sacrificing their attention and focus and their intentionality, all to end up doing what? Scrolling through garbage social media while sitting on the toilet, and then to complain about being too tired to do anything good for me after work, mindlessly watching TV after getting home, and then to continue droning on like a robot the next day and the next. All in the effort to try and expedite this process of getting to that destination where they can finally relax. But that destination never comes. So it's up to you. Are you going to keep your reality separate from your dream? Or are you going to start living your dream as your reality and your reality as your dream? Ask yourself, and ask yourself again. Ask yourself even more seriously, for in truth it is a question of salvation. Stay not the flight of your soul. Do not sadden what is your better part. Do not enervate your soul with half wishes and half thoughts. Ask yourself, and keep on asking until you find the answer. For one can recognize a thing many times and acknowledge it. One can want a thing many times and attempt it. Yet only the deep inner movement, only the indescribable motions of the heart, only these convince you that what you have recognized belongs unto you, that no power can take it from you. For only the truth that edifies is truth for you. I'll see you next time.